Hello and welcome to my review of Thrawn, the new Star Wars novel Thrawn, written by Timothy Zahn. This came out on April 11th, just a few weeks ago, and this is a spoiler review of this book. So consider yourselves warned on all things spoilers for this novel. And don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy this review and want to see more videos like this in the future where I talk about Star Wars. I usually do a Star Wars video every Sunday talking about books or some of the news, like a lot of what happened at Star Wars Celebration. So yeah, subscribe if you want to get notified every time I put a new video. And with that being said, let's get into the review. So Thrawn is back and he's in novel form again, and he is canon. Yes! When this book got announced, I was really excited because I really enjoyed Thrawn in all of the Rebels Season 3, and I've read Heir to the Empire, which, is the first Timothy Zahn book that has to do with Thrawn, and I was blown away by the character, and so I was really excited for this. And all the Star Wars novels that have come out that have been centered around a villain character have been amazing up to this point, and this one does not disappoint. This is Thrawn, man, and I guess I should have expected that because Timothy Zahn, the creator of Thrawn, and I think he wrote all the Thrawn novels, he is back to write this novel, and it is awesome. This novel revolves around three main characters of Thrawn, obviously. His real name is Mit Thrawn Rodo, I believe is how you call it, or how you say it, and he has a cadet who is Eli Vanto, and the beginning of this book has Thrawn exiled on a planet, although it does an amazing job of telling us this book actually made me think that Thrawn is a good guy, because at the beginning of this book, there is the whole story of Thrawn getting exiled on this planet, and Eli Vanto is the second main character, and he's a cadet at this time, and he is from the outer regions, and I think he's actually from Wild Space, if I'm correct. But he knows the language called Cybisti, which is the language that Thrawn, in the beginning of this book, is mostly this is the one that he is most comfortable with. And so the Imperials show up on the planet that Thrawn is exiled to, and Thrawn, they find his little camp where he's been staying, and Thrawn is like taking some of the stormtroopers out, but very not theoretically, but very intellectually, like how we would assume Thrawn would do it. And the Empire, it gets very impressed with what Thrawn does, and they take him to Coruscant because we found out later on that Thrawn knew Anakin Skywalker, and apparently Anakin Skywalker told the Emperor about this chiss named Thrawn, or Mit Thrawn Rodo, and the Emperor wanted him back to Coruscant. So where Eli Vanto comes in is Eli Vanto is pretty much taken, he had his own path, and the book does this thing where it goes into his perspective, and he, for a lot of the book, he is kind of not mad at Thrawn, but he is disappointed that because of Thrawn, he went into the Imperial Academy to become a supply officer because he's really good with numbers and finding patterns in numbers and all of the things like that. Real Rain Man type of guy, but not mentally challenged. Anyway, he was on that path to become a supply officer, but since he knew Cybisti and Thrawn needed to learn Basic, he became Thrawn's aide and pretty much a translator. And so that's why he is in this story, and he stays with Thrawn throughout the entire book, and it's very cool because it shows his animosity towards Thrawn, in that this guy took him out of the line of work that he was going to be in, and it made him take a different path. But the third character is Arinda Pryce, and if you know Star Wars Rebels, then you know Governor Pryce from the TV series on Lothal. It follows her, and at the beginning of this book, she's just a miner. She owns, along with her parents, a mining company on Lothal, and the Empire takes it away from her because she strikes a mine of she strikes a thing of dunium. And what dunium is, it's a metal that they use to create or to make the outer hull of the Star Destroyers. And so the Empire obviously wants that to build the Death Star. And what really awesome about this is that Thrawn, all throughout the book, is figuring out that the Empire is doing something big, and at the end of the book, he talks to Palpatine about the Death Star. It's so cool to see Thrawn figure something out like that, which is like he has no business knowing, but yet he is Thrawn, so he's going to know about it, which is amazing. But back to Arinda Pryce, we follow her story all the way from her just being the owner of a mining company, and she works her way up the political ladder because there is a Senator Ranking, who is the person who pretty much takes away her company and takes the mine of dunium that she had from her and her family. But he gives her a job in his office, and she works her way up to his main assistant, and then he fires her because she doesn't do something that he needed her to do. He tried to get dirt on another senator, she didn't do it, so he fires her. And then she goes all the way back down to the bottom of the barrel, I guess if you call it, and then she works her way all the way back up, and she gets dirt on a lot of senators, and she gets in the good graces of Tarkin. And one thing that this book does really good, which is very interesting, because the main story is about Thrawn and Eli Vanto and Thrawn's relationship with this guy called Night Swan. I'll get into him a little bit later. But on the sideline, you have the Arinda Pryce story, and it does an amazing job of showing us that even in Star Wars, politics is like a very fickle thing, and there's a lot of undercutting, and there's a lot of dirt in politics, and it does an amazing job of not making that the main focal point in the book. And I mentioned it before, Night Swan, the main villain, I guess you would call it, the antagonist to Thrawn's protagonist. And this guy, his code name is Night Swan, and he's very intelligent. He's a smuggler, and Thrawn is after him. They have a couple of meetings. The first time they meet, Thrawn is not in charge of anything, but he is making a raid on a ship. It is a freighter, and it has Tabana gas on it. Now, Tabana gas in the Star Wars universe is very valuable, and so the smuggler of Night Swan, his real name is Signy or Signy. I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce it. I didn't audible this one. I read it because I wanted to get through it. I just wanted it all instantly, so I read it. Great read, by the way. But this guy of Night Swan wanted the Tabana gas. The Empire wanted the Tabana gas, but Night Swan got about 60% of it, while Thrawn was able to salvage 40% of it. And that is what kind of kicks off the animosity between Thrawn and this guy calling himself Night Swan. And it's very good because it shows a lot that Night Swan, this guy, is not necessarily a smuggler. He appears to be at the beginning, but as the story progresses, he becomes a rebel, like a full-fledged rebel. And in this one, they don't call him like the rebel cells, like you have the rebel cell on Lothal with Ezra Bridger and all of them, and Kanan. In this one, they call them insurgents, and this guy of Night Swan gets like insurgents going throughout the galaxy, and he's like, in my opinion, he has a good, he's part of the rebellion, because he's kind of, instead of being a smuggler, he progresses into a character that is on the side of good. And the Empire is obviously evil, and it's a very nice way to do it, where you have a character like Thrawn who is wildly intelligent, and as far as tacticians and tacticianing goes, and tactical things. How would you call that? as far as anything tactically goes, Thrawn is the best of the best in that vein. But you have Night Swan, who is also very intelligent, but he is very intelligent in a way of, rather than being tactically intelligent, he's more intelligent of covering his tracks. And so, for a good portion of the book, while it is not Thrawn's main objective, his main objective is to do whatever the Empire wants him to do, obviously, because he doesn't give all the orders. But throughout the book, it sprinkles in subtle things where you have Thrawn looking at like shipments of Dunium and where they're going, and that this is, again, it's something so amazing that Thrawn figures out that there's something big going on within the Empire, and this guy of Night Swan is also trying to figure out what is going on, because he's like catching up Dunium, and the Empire is like, the Empire wants all the Dunium for the Death Star. And these two characters of Thrawn and Night Swan are both doing the same thing as far as trying to figure out what's going on, because the Death Star is one of the biggest things in all of Star Wars. Like it changes the absolute scope, and the abilities of the Empire totally change with that Death Star. And it is such a cool thing to have these two characters going after information. And it's not necessarily, they're not just trying to kill each other. They're not trying to hunt the other one down. They're both going after the same information, yet they have two wildly different avenues to do it, because Thrawn is obviously in the Empire, the other one is a rebel. And it's an amazing job that Timothy Zahn does of writing these two characters. While you don't get the sense that Night Swan is an equal to Thrawn, you absolutely get that he's very intelligent, and intelligent enough to give Thrawn the slip a few times, but in the end Thrawn gets to him. And one of the things that I found very, very interesting was that it wasn't Thrawn who actually killed him. Thrawn tracked him down to a place called Baton, and this is a planet, and it was where Night Swan was going to make his last stand against Thrawn, because he couldn't leave the people behind. And Timothy Zahn does an amazing job, because he has the two characters of Thrawn and Night Swan. They meet up in a field, and it's so well written, because Thrawn, when he's telling him, hey, meet me in this field and let's talk, Night Swan immediately tells him, how do I know you're not going to just shoot me? Or why would I go if you have the clear advantage, because you have like a whole Star Destroyer behind you, and why would I do this? And Thrawn says, you're no use to me dead. I have to have an intelligent conversation with you about some things. And it's so good, because Thrawn tries to pretty much recruit him. He tries to recruit Night Swan, because he realizes that Night Swan is very good, is very intellectual, and a great tactician. And he tries to recruit him. But the awesome thing about this, and the amazing thing that Timothy Zahn does, is the reason why Thrawn to me is not a villain in this, because he doesn't try to like induct Night Swan into the Empire. He doesn't try to, turn him to the Empire's side. He tries to turn him to the Chiss. He's like, hey, I know the Empire is evil. Like, some parts of it are evil. I know they are corrupt. You can come join the Chiss. They don't call it the Chiss Empire. They call it the Chiss Ascendancy. And I was like, dude, that is amazing, because it shows. And Thrawn even tells Night Swan, look, my story of me being exiled on that planet for a long time, that's not what happened. I was planted there a few months before I got picked up, and we just drew the Empire there. I impressed them, and then they took me because I had the connection to Anakin Skywalker, and like that's what happened. And it was so cool. Like, to me, with what happens in the end of this book, it makes me on the side of Thrawn. Like, he is no longer a villain to me. Like, he is more of an anti-hero to me, because his goals are like, first and foremost, his allegiance lies with the Chiss ascendancy, because the Chiss are from wild space, and the Emperor, in the new canon, the Emperor has been obsessed with wild space. And the reason why, in my opinion, the reason why he accepted Thrawn into the Empire, aside from his great his great tactical skill and his mind, was that he has knowledge of the wild space, and the Emperor has been fascinated with that. And Thrawn in this one is telling the Empire of evils that lurk in wild space. And to me, that is so mind-blowing, because in the end of Aftermath Empire's end, the Empire pretty much goes into wild space. And Thrawn is a huge part of that, in my opinion, because he gives the Empire the hyperspace lanes to go to wild space and to go out there and to navigate it successfully. But Thrawn, throughout this entire book, is constantly saying that there are evils out in wild space that are evil, and they are a threat to the Chiss ascendancy. And it's just like, oh my goodness, it made me think of Snoke, because my opinion of Snoke is that he is not anybody that we know already. He is someone from wild space. And if that is what Thrawn is talking about, that could make Thrawn a good guy, because he knows that there are evil things out in wild space. And he uses the Empire. He wants to see that. It's another thing that he says to Night Swan in that conversation. He's like, look, I joined the Empire because I wanted to see if they had what it takes to help the Chiss ascendancy stop the evils and the threats that are out there in wild space. And it just like blew my mind that Thrawn is not a villain. He used the Empire. Like, as much as you want to say like the Empire is using him to defeat the rebels and defeat all these insurgents, he is using the Empire to see if they have what it takes to take out the evils that are out in wild space. And it's just this bit. If you want to get amazing Thrawn, and if you want to come up with some theories like about wild space, there are amazing things in this book that you can like read for yourself in this book, and they're like, some of them are just mind-blowing. Like, all in all, wrapping this review up, I think this is an absolutely amazing book by Timothy Zahn. It gives you everything you could ever want from a Thrawn book. It gives you Thrawn, it gives you him interacting with the Emperor, it gives you him interacting a little bit with Darth Vader. In the very end, he meets Darth Vader. And it gives you him interacting with Tarkin. Literally, Thrawn interacts with every single big time villain in the Star Wars universe. So it gives you all of that. It gives you an amazing side character. And I didn't talk a lot about Eli Vanto in this review, because to me in this book, Eli Vanto is the audience. Like, to me he's the audience, because he's always like, wow, Thrawn is amazing. He's just there to translate some Cybisti words that Thrawn doesn't know yet. And it's so good because Vanto, and it does an amazing job. Eli Vanto is such a cool character because he starts to learn. He starts to pick up on the patterns. Thrawn always talks about there are patterns in everything, including the art, which, oh my goodness, it's so hard to explain everything that happens in a book because the book is so long. But it goes into how he thinks about art and what his process is as far as thinking and reading people, that I can't explain it. You have to read it to really understand it. But this character of Eli Vanto starts to learn how to see the patterns, because he was already good with numbers, and I told you he was already good with seeing the patterns in numbers and seeing where things went and how things kind of, if you gave him like a math problem, he'd be able to do it. If you gave him like a sheet of numbers with inventory, he would be able to do it. But he is starting to get leadership, and throughout the book you see his progression from just a lowly cadet who was good with numbers to someone who has leadership, who has learned from Thrawn about patterns, who has learned from Thrawn about tactician things. And it's such a good, like, he's such a good character. And in the very end of this book, Thrawn sends Eli Vanto to the Chiss Ascendancy. He meets up with another Chiss, and I think that this is the first time we see a Chiss, or we interact. We have a character that is a Chiss in this in canon that is not Thrawn, and not even in canon. In some of the EU things, I don't know if there are any other Chiss besides Thrawn in the EU things that are like big time. I mean, not big time Chiss, but like even there for a little bit. But we actually get to meet another character that is a Chiss, and they are like warrior people, let me tell you. So my verdict on this book is going to be a must read for any Star Wars fan. In my opinion, if you like Star Wars, if you like great villains, if you like great characters and great, writing in the Star Wars universe, if you like anything about Star Wars, you have to read this book, because this is Thrawn, and this is a novel of Thrawn that is canon, and you get some amazing things from Timothy Zahn in there. You not only get Thrawn, you get Emperor Palpatine, you get Darth Vader for a little bit, you get Tarkin, you get amazing side characters like Eli Vanto and Arinda Pryce, or Governor Pryce as you know her from Rebels. This book just has everything that you could ever want in a book that's titled Thrawn, and it delivers on every single part of the book. There's nothing about this book that I would be like, you know what, that doesn't need to be in there, or that should be changed to something else. Everything works great, which is why it's a must read, in my opinion, for any Star Wars fan. But that's my review, and I want to know what you think about this book. So if you've read the book, I know it's kind of soon from the book coming out, but if you've read it, go ahead and tell me your thoughts on the book in the comment section down below. If you haven't read it, sorry for spoiling it, but I told you, about it. But man, if you decide to read it because of my review, great. Tell me that in the comment section down below. I just want to talk Star Wars with somebody, so please, say anything you want about Star Wars in the comment section down below. And don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this and want to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching this video, and may the Force be with you.